Welcome to the Lost Legends update, and we're finishing off the Shantae update saga with the not-so-recent release of Shantae Advanced, Risky Revolution. However, this is a split between it and a Mace Plays EX video on my main channel known as Mace 2.0, where I did a whole playthrough. Now let's hop in. So back in the very 4th episode of Lost Legends, I mainly covered the cancelled Shantae games. You know, the 32-bit PS1/PC iteration, Shantae Advance, Shantae DS, which later became Risky's Revenge for the DSi, and Shantae TV. In April, I covered part 1 of the update on the canned Shantae sequels, showing off the existence of Shantae TV and 2 unannounced titles, along with some extra pre-release stuff. Part 2 back in November covers the whole development cycle for Risky's Revenge, beginning with the earliest builds to the latest, despite covering half of it because like hell I'm gonna cover 38 builds. Most are full games, by the way. Now we're focusing on Risky Revolution, which was developed in late 2002 to mid 2003, meant to be released exclusively for the Game Boy Advance. They worked on the game for many months until they had to cancel it due to publishers not picking it up. No publisher means no investment, let alone enough capital to produce the cartridges, which are pretty expensive, by the way. There's also a second reason, stating about the saturated market of platforming games and the impending release of the DS. Now at the time, there's a synopsis, handful of screenshots, a couple potato quality vids from IGN, and one playthrough of the demo via livestream. The demo in fact was the last build before they canceled the project. It's going to be a more robust Shantae title with the world shifting around as its selling point. It was until July 2023, sometime after the Turok Evolution episode went live, and I got word that Shantae Advance is back in development, and not only is going to be on the very Nintendo handheld as planned, but also on other platforms as well. So this means if I didn't get my hands on the GBA copy, I could just get it off from Steam and GOG. Spoiler alert, I got it. Both of them. However, on the 30th of April in 2025, that leapfrog guy who dumped the DS builds just waltzes back in like Santa Claus and released the old demo build. Yes, that demo build, the one shown in WayForward's Kickstarter livestream, soon before I get to work on the Lost Legends videos. So let's take a look for ourselves. A quick update before diving into GBA. Some mad lads managed to rip some graphics from the cancelled and unplayable plug-and-play version. We have the 320x240 screens of the WayForward logo, the very title screen, and even the level, which is nice. So yeah, turns out there are some meat on this bone after all, but doesn't mean the prototype can be emulated. I already mentioned the unused text and music from the previous update, so don't add me on that. We have the old title screens, now in a more crisp quality. Now I'm going to make a quick-fire version because I've already mentioned a whole lot in the main video, like the gameplay, temporary cutscenes, Godzilla music as placeholders, transformations, and getting blue ball before the first boss. Oh, and Shantae getting spanked by some mummy. One thing the livestream didn't show off is the debug menu, which you press start and select. Luckily you can do this at any time and not just during gameplay. It's a basic menu where you could access what's already in there, including ones that aren't used. One option that wasn't shown in the livestream is the battle mode. Using the arcade magic known as no cache GBA, I can run 4 emulators at once, virtually connected. Now these connections do work, but if I attempt to play this mode, it crashes, because the battle mode itself wasn't programmed. Now the other bits. You can access the Link error screen where they use risky boots. There's the dancing minigame, but one thing is deceiving. This is nothing more than a mock-up. Oh, we'll talk about those later. Next is an unused room, which is in a forest setting. This is the only place where it features a Naga enemy, but it also features some more enemies and a load of heart containers. There's no way out. I presume this is a test room of sorts. The version from Shantae TV lacked the dual playfields, and to compensate that, they made the level much longer. Next is the labyrinth, but not what you think, because the door option refers to the rooms in labyrinths. You can adjust the door by pressing A or B, and setting it to 255, which sends you to the top left corner of the map. Pressing A and R to enable no clip, just glide yourself to the far right, and then hold down. You'll find some crudely drawn rooms with some pink stone tiles you can walk on. One user claimed it might be the second labyrinth, but I disagree that when I played the final product, because these are tiles meant for the monkey vision ability, which in this demo doesn't work, along with the whole elephant transformation. Yeah, quite the surprising addition to the Lost Legends update, but two more things before moving on to the main build. The overworld. I remember what one of the devs said during that livestream, stating that they were using assets from other games as placeholders, and this bitmap here for the overworld used tiles from Chrono Trigger as a backdrop. The forest backdrop was actually an edit from the Super Famicom game Violinist of Hamelin, where they only used the trees and not the lake. In the final, this is a dark edit of the Tangled Woods background from Risky's Revenge, and let me tell you a little something. The final game reused a lot of Risky's Revenge and Pirate's Curse assets. You may lost the pieces, and you're putting it together from different LEGO sets. Now let's continue on with the final product. So originally this segment was going to be a bit longer, like 2.5 pages worth, but I decided to cut that down just to make the pacing much more manageable. I have recorded the original VO but scrapped it. So yeah. The game was published by Limited Run Games, first released on the GBA in late April 2025. The enhanced ports would later follow in August. We start with the title screens, all are completely different. The character art is not drawn by Bozon himself, but a Japanese artist named Nami, or N Sakura J Yushui. She makes cute art, I recommend following this user. The music, however, is not Jake Kaufman's work, but composed by Maddie Lim. Her music is indeed Kaufman-like, and it's well done. Also, let me tell you this, the music is made with MIDIs. When we get to the main game, it starts with some scrolling text dumping lore at you. The first 10 minutes of gameplay are all new, so we get some cutscenes of Shantae and the gang around a fan meant to repel pirates and birds. Roddy Tops appeared and Shantae's compadres don't seem to recognize her. But keep this in mind that this is the second game in the canon. Risky shows up with her bug air balloon thing, plotting, scheming, and baited Shantae to chase her. When it comes down to general gameplay, Shantae always runs, which beats holding the attack button. One addition is that dancing can attract items, only ones that are dropped though. Then we have an exclusive feature to this game, which is the ability to double tap the R button and use the D-pad to look around your surroundings, likely meant to mitigate the screen size. The demo version doesn't let you die, but this game over screen is quite funny though. We fought Risky through 2 phases, chased her inside a chasm, and we get to the main story involving the Tremor engine. This is where Chapter 1 starts, and the comparison to the demo begins. Now the demo doesn't have any towns, but the first task is to grab the item behind Shantae's lighthouse. In the demo, it's an egg for Sky, similar to the first quest from Risky's Revenge. In the final, it's a toolbox for Uncle Mimic, needed to ungem a toaster from his beard. Then a cutscene where we get to see the Tremor engine in action, shifting Scuttletown away from the shores and into the dunes. This also affects the environment as you head back home, noticing that the water is gone and these lizard men are here. Talking to one of them gives you a map to a new location, and after talking to Sky, who has a big bird being Wrench's mom, she'll take you there. In the demo, that bird was Wrench. This is where one of the biggest cuts comes in, because they removed the Mode 7 flight and replaced it with a map select. Yeah, lame, I know. Guess it might be too difficult to code in the world if the world is shifting around like crazy. The map in question leads to Mining Town, and I know they reused the battle tower from Risky's Revenge to make that entrance. Risky's plot involves plundering places affected by the Tremor engine. Talking to some cave scalies would grant you another map that leads you to the forest biome, Orc Orchard. Now this place had some changes. Notably, the final version had several cave entrances and a crypt. Now the crypt is a miniaturized version of the game's labyrinths, and these featured a mini-boss formerly named Spanky Joe. Formerly, because he moved on from his spanking fetish, and now he's getting off with some voa. Defeating him grants you a wishing charm, which is technically a key to use the genie fountains to get the transformations. This one grants me the hermit crab to navigate on the water. In the demo, you can reach to the tremor engine just fine, albeit the cutscene camera is borked. The final game had an obstacle where you need the crab form to get there, and they fixed the camera. The first labyrinth had some major changes. From the entrance with a save room next to it, the color palette is greener, though the yellow-brown one is used in the second labyrinth, and the one thing to note is that the length is shorter. The demo version was longer and had Spanx in there, but since we defeated him in the crypt, we have a small gauntlet of enemies to fight. The final version also had Roddy Tops, who is the game's shopkeeper. Now after getting keys to open doors, getting a wish charm to become Monkey, and grab this oversized wingnut, we finally get to see the boss fight that was teased since the Kickstarter livestream. Now we face off Mishmash, where in the first phase we had to use the monkey form to climb on the vines to drop bombs from the opposite side of the room, and bait the boss's flame attack to have explode on him. Second phase is him flying around across the screen until he floats down to the center and spam more fire at you. Now start wailing at him or use pike balls to kill him faster. Once he's finished and rescued Boris, there's one more place of interest where you get the crab's upgrade so you can drop some spark bombs, which are essential for moving on to the game's progression. And so that was the first part of the game, and for fun, I'm going to show off my hard to obtain analog pocket with Shantae Advance. Also, the same game on my actual, unmodded Arctic White GBA. Look, I don't remember that the GBA screen was this dark. Guess the console screen ages, but who knows. Okay, so imagine this. 4 gigabytes for a GBA Shantae game.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
Yeah, these two files in particular are taking up 3.71 gigs of it. It's also made with Unity, hence why development is taking so long, I assume. The most notable difference from its original handheld counterpart is the UI, cutscenes, and even the end screens using higher quality art. Another change is the multiplayer battle mode, now without the need of 4 link cables and GBAs to play. Now the one massive change here is the addition of 3 costumes. Explorer, High Voltage, and Extra Spicy, representing massive buffs to the Pike Balls, Storm Puffs, and Fireballs respectively. I don't care how hot the High Voltage costume is, I'm still using the Pikes, because Spiky Balls go burr. Okay, a second quickfire, but since Shantae Advance got released, here's a mini Lost Legends bit for you. Some cut contents. There are some graphics, animations, and even the whole debug menu is there. However, like my usual formatting, let's talk about graphics and animations first. So Shantae's walking animations along with Monkey are there. The Monkey form also had swimming animations, but as the nature of non-aquatic transformations, these turn back to Shantae's normal form, if you ever dare touch water. Now, there are some unused sliding animations, but since the game doesn't have any slippery slopes, all of Shantae's animal transformations went unused, except the normal human form used for a cutscene. The common crab enemy's depth animation in the final game used sprite rotation, and this piece here are drawn. Lastly, 3 miscellaneous items. An MP indicator meant for collecting magic jars, a bone, and quiver crystals from the last game. The latter was replaced by secret squids. There are some differences to Sky and Bolo's idle animations. Bolo changes are very minor, notably his shirt is animated, while Sky is completely different, with wrench perched onto her arm. Lastly, the whole debug menu is fully functional. You can go to any room, any screen, just like the demo version, but there's more. Some menus for chapters, caves, and even the windscreens. Just use this code breaker and then press L and R at any time to access. Remember back in part 1 of the Shantae update that the various screenshots shown in Risky's Revenge and the 32-bit one were nothing more than just mock-ups? Well, there's a term for that. Bullshots. A portmanteau of screenshots and bullshit. And I bet my Redline Club collection that the many screenshots of this GBA entry is considered to fall in the exact term. The first screen is a mock-up. I've shown this in part 1, and now it turns out that the flash bolts from the first game didn't make the cut. Second screen it claims to be a mock-up, but since that level was in the demo, albeit unused, then this is the first screen I consider as legit. The screen for the elevator room is showing too many colors, allegedly, with fake glowing transparency effects, the fire sprite not syncing with each other, Shantae wearing green, and the most damning, 2 rows of hearts. Additional costumes were cut in the final GBA version, but made its appearance in the Unity port. No, wait, there's only one alt costume in the GBA version, which is the swimsuit, that treats like the one in Risky's Revenge Director's Cut. You know, more damage for magic, but you take more damage. The first confrontation of Risky is notably different. Risky's bug thing is lowered through the ground, along with early dialogue boxes where Shantae's portrait is larger than what was seen in the demo. The next 2 are the early battle mode screenshots, and both seem to be legit. The second set of screenshots took place in the first labyrinth, except for one, and only 2 of them are legit. The first one looks nothing out of the ordinary, but Shantae is sporting her unused green outfit again. The other one is all sorts of sus, because Shantae is shooting a fireball whilst having the potion equipped, shooting at this cactus enemy that's jumping, which never happens, on some purple blocks, which are not possible to be in this palette. This one is showing Shantae getting hurt. Oh, you know, while being dead. The last one is showing off the monkey vision, and I would contest that this could be from an earlier build where it's working, because according to Bozon himself during the stream, they removed the monkey vision to make room for those wagon wheels shown at the title screen. Now the only batch I could safely say they're legit were the IGN ones, the only difference being the title screen doesn't have the wagon wheels. Yeah, so those are the screens back then. When WayForward and Limited Run revived the project, they also pull out some new screen- Hey, wait a minute! They're bullshots again! Give or take the battle mode, the rest were edited screens of the bullshots. Explicitly the elevator room where Shantae's green outfit is redrawn back to red, and this room with the monkey and jumping cactus guy, now with the stone platforms match the color palette of the door. Okay, wanna make this even funnier? This box art I have and this poster from the collector's edition contain those screenshots, lol. I mean, are you sure this is difficult to make legit screenshots? I mean, I could just fire up the old emulator, find a good place to screen, and then boom, you got legit screens. Now, even during development, it shouldn't be that hard to do that. To make this even funnier is that the press kit for the console versions used the same screenshots, stretched to 1080p, with a new HUD overlaid on top of the Pixel one. Hey, at least you were honest on the DS and PS1 screens being mock-ups. You said nothing about the GBA screens being fake. Look, I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. Alright. So before moving on to the last bit, which I'm mentioning WayForward's podcast chat again, I caught myself slacking and forgot the additional concept art. Oh, you know, the concept art that's shown in The Art of Shantae, that book I bought for part 1. I'll make this quick since I don't want to drag this for too long. These are the rough sketches for the first 2 islands, Orc Orchard and the original second one that's not Naga Cliffs. Next is a closer look at Bramble Maze's entrance, with the water wheels are actually big gears. Then, we get to the original 6 labyrinth themes, with a different order. So we get Monkey with Vines, Elephant with Stone, Crab in Ruins, Mermaid with Pillars, Spider in Haunted, and Harpy in Metal and Ice. In the final game, we get Crab, then Monkey, Elephant, Spider, Mermaid, and Harpy. 3 in the Catacombs, 3 in the Labyrinths. Some rough sketches meant for the game's cutscenes, which were drawn by Matt Bozon. Here's the final scenes art by Nami. The scene missing screen, but in full. The original zombie wagon sketch, and an old sketch of Pongo, sporting a big shield and whip. Lastly, some sprites of some weird demon with a cape and bone, the early jumping guys, Rhytotops attacking using a bone, and early GBA sprites of the Tinkerbat, Zombie, and the Tittybog monsters, or freaky symbiotes. Okay, I know they're officially called muck piles, but someone's too horny drawing these creatures. Hell, the top one's giving that freaky Venom look. Okay, last one to shoehorn in, and this is just from a Way Forward podcast chat. The same one I mentioned in the last update. Bozon was asked about Shantae Advance's development, and how far it went before they continued in 2023. This is what he has to say. Alright, it's hard to explain. I'll do my best. The surface answer is, it's 50-50. Half of the game is from 03 and 04, half of the other game is from 2023 and 24. But it's not like you play the first half of the game and then you're playing new content after that. The way that the game is developed, its core systems were made first. Character mobility and transformations were made second. Her magical abilities, bad guys, NPCs, those things were all made next. In a production perspective, we had about half of the game done. So most of the work under the hood, the subscreen where you equip your stuff, and all of her abilities and transformations, minus 1. The elephant we added in 2023, not in 2003. In 2003, all the other stuff were added. Okay, so you may be asking about the legitimacy about this claim, and we already saw the unfinished build. Well, here's one thing I should ask you. We don't have any development or source code material for the GBA game prior to the finalized build, do we? The demo build we got is only bare bones, but it doesn't contain everything beyond what's playable. Now here's the other part of the quote. When you actually leave the lighthouse and start exploring the world, there were fewer fully constructed locations in 2003. There were only portions of forest. There was the first giant hub world, which if you play the game or about to, there's a giant forest hub world that all existed. The first and most of the second labyrinth were already built, but they were all crammed into one basically proving grounds labyrinth where we put every possible idea into this one giant maze that was ridiculously huge. All the pieces that are foundational to the experience were all made in 2003, and maybe about 30% you travel to. It's really a mix. I almost have to direct a commentary an entire playthrough and be like, oh hey, that sprite? That's new. Oh hey, that flickering torch? That's old. Then you'll see more things where you're like, oh hey, that looks like something I remember from more modern pixel Shantae game. There's some more of that too, but it's like Jurassic Park fraud DNA, right? Where it's like, okay, these pieces need to come together. Here's a proper part that can bridge the gap between the older piece and in this newer piece. Let's slot that in. You'll see some of that as well. It's a crazy thing. Definitely a labor of love though, for sure. So yeah, the game was practically half finished in 03 and 04, and then 20 years later, they're not only building this thing with the old code, but also code and assets from other Shantae projects. You know, kinda like assembling Lego kit with parts from other sets to fill things in. As I was about to close off and prep for the Crusade, another one. Not by Leapfrog this time, but a Redditor under the username Mr. Meanwhile1 posted a red game card of a beta build of the limited run version of Shantae Advance, dated October 17th, 2024, a whopping 6 months before the game shipped out in April. Unfortunately, during the time of this video's production, build wasn't leaked yet. Sorry for baiting your ass, but it's out there somewhere. And so, another Lost Legend is now in the hands of the public. Well, since April. Not only we get to see the full release of a game on the original cartridge, but a surprise edition with a fabled demo. This marks the conclusion of the Shantae update saga. Well, for now. There's only the supposed Wii version of Shantae, and the older pre-GBC title, which is definitely real, shown in this screenshot. Now, I have a brief announcement to make. I'm gonna put this show on hold for now, just because I want to sort some things out. I mean, for one, I want to focus on my art and haven't finished a damn thing, besides one model all year. Then I'm gonna catch up on some other modeling projects, both Lost Legends related. Also, want to catch up on some scripts for future videos, both Lost Legends and Mace 2.0. So when am I gonna get back to Lost Legends? Only time will tell, and by that I meant once I get back in the right headspace, because if I continue like this, then it's gonna get sloppy and nobody wants that. Passion fuels the fire, and right now it's nothing but embers. However, once Lost Legends comes back, it's gonna be a thrill when I have some time to kill. Also, one last world premiere. I made a new Discord server dedicated to the show, and I would love to see some potential ideas for future Lost Legends content. Once it gets popular enough, that is. And that's pretty much it, and I'll see you later.